Francisco is only 6% Black. Okay. So this is not, we're not talking about a predominantly Black city or a city that has a lot of Black people. The incarceration rates under Kamala Harris's tenure, whether you're looking at her as district attorney or as attorney general, were either stable or they dropped. In the case of being attorney general, they went down. She did not lock up scores of Black men. Okay. Notice when people say that, they can't give you a number. What was the percentage increase? Was it a 1% increase? Was it a 10% increase? Was it a 20% increase? But what she did do was and let me bring it a step back. First of all, before becoming district attorney, her specialization was in rape, child molestation cases. So anybody she locked up for that need to have their motherfucking ass in jail, point blank, period. Black or not, it does not matter. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, though, when she did become the district attorney, she created the first of its kind program in the nation called Back on Track, which got Black men, predominantly, and Latino men out of jail when they were facing 20 years for 2 grams of crack, and into a diversion program where they didn't have a record. At the end of the program, if they completed the requirements, they got job training, they got counseling, they got dental work. She personally went in her Rolodex and got people jobs, because the people in her office, the white men in the office, and by the way, over 90% of prosecutors are white. And over 90% of them are white men, okay, or some 70 to 90%, I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot of them. The white men in her office called her program Back on Crack and Hug a Thug. Okay. So this wasn't something that she was rising to the top to be popular doing when she was being denigrated and roadblocked in her own office. So it is just absolutely unequivocally false to say that she had some kind of crusade and she came up off the backs of Black men to become the district attorney, when she did things like create neighborhood courts. She added 3 neighborhood courts, which was a diversionary program where we talk about community policing, we talk about community involvement, where people, instead of going into the judicial system, the formal one, the carceral system, you had neighbors who would adjudicate these cases, like, quality of life crimes, little, petty drug crimes and things like that. So, I mean, I can go on down the list on what she did. And the one other thing I will say she did is, when she got into office, there was a backlog of homicide cases where most of those cases were Black men or Black people who were killed. And she said, this is unacceptable. And she cut the backlog of cases down. So yeah, did some people go to jail? They sure did. And that's what needed to happen in that case. If you out there killing people, if you raping people, if you knock people upside their head, your ass belongs in jail, period. Because I don't want nobody doing that shit in my neighborhood going free. But this whole criminalization of Black men, like all these Black men are criminals or people just being rounded up, I think it's offensive to Black men. It's completely false when it comes to her record. There's so many things in her record that I can point to where she did the exact opposite of that. But yet y'all want to sit up there and try to drag her. So no, it's fake news. It's fake news. It's fake news. And it pisses me off when people have these super vague things. If you have a specific number, then quote me the number. Tell me the exact number of people that she incarcerated, that she increased incarceration by.
Well, the number that was spread, and I think we have to beware of where some of this information is spread. I'll never forget, it was Tulsi Gabbard.
Right.
Tulsi Gabbard said that Kamala Harris locked up 1,500 Black men for marijuana charges. Right. And that has been, if you go to AFP factcheck.afp, that's been debunked. That's not what it was. And I don't know if people understood the role that she was doing in California, but that was spread by someone named Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I will say, if you have fair critiques of Vice President Kamala Harris, that's fine. Nobody is above critique. That's fine. Yeah. But, you just got to be factual when you call in and you say, this is what she did. You just got to be, and he hung up within about 5 seconds of you talking, Reecie. But I hope that breakdown can properly, and brother, with all due respect, you should know who your 2 senators are.
Right. Especially if you're trying to act like somebody else is dumb. They don't know what you're talking about. Oh, y'all making decisions and y'all don't even know what, but you don't even know who your senator. He didn't even ask you a congressional person. He didn't ask you who your alderman was, who your city council person was. He said that it's only 2 senators. It doesn't matter if you have 40 million people in your state or if you have 500,000. It's the same 2 people. Okay.
It's
But
so interesting. It's almost like this narrative over Vice President Kamala Harris locked up all these black men. It's I almost hear that more than I hear about, and I want to be careful saying this, it's very nuanced, but about the crime reform bill.
yeah,
I mean, if you're that mad about Vice President Kamala Harris, I would think you would be, why bring up Kamala Harris? Why don't you go to the '94 crime reform bill,
yeah.
which Joe Biden helped to co-author? And if you're mad about that, go to the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act under Ronald Reagan, or the 1988 Anti-Drug Abuse Act under Ronald Reagan. Or if you're thinking about California, go to when Jerry Brown was governor of California and the horrible laws that he put into place.
Right.
It's throw the black woman in it. It's all
Yeah.
her fault. Any incarceration in California, it's all her fault. I mean, look at California's history of mass incarceration alone on a state level.
Exactly. I'm like, now why is she in it? She's been dragged for so much shit that don't have nothing to do with her. Kevin Cooper, when Tulsi Gabbard got her stupid ass on that stage and lied and said, "Oh, she blocked evidence that would have released a man from getting in jail." That was fake news. She had nothing to do with that. First of all, he had every single clemency case denied by Arnold Schwarzenegger and by Jerry Brown. There was nothing even in Kamala's wheelhouse at the time as Attorney General. He had exhausted all of his appeals. But yeah, you turn around and try to sit up there and blame her. And he's still in jail to this day, even though Governor Gavin Newsom eventually did grant the DNA testing. Again, governor, wasn't the Attorney General that granted, it was the governor, because that was in the wheelhouse of the governor. And he's still in jail. So I don't know if what happened with the DNA test, but I don't know how Kamala is in it when it was not even a matter for her. But unfortunately, her team didn't respond to that properly. If they had me fact checking, I would have given them the better response to what they gave.
And Reecie, I forgot, forgive me. I interviewed her. I'm sorry if you're listening, I forgot. But she was the woman who was
the public defender, Nikki Solis.
The public defender.
Yeah.
Who was going against Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And she told me, she said, I am telling you, I was working against her, and she was the most progressive person to work with.
Yeah.
And she told me that on these airwaves. She goes, we were on the same team technically.
Right.
But I was the defender, and I'm on the opposite side. And this is somebody who was seriously progressive that she hadn't seen at all in her tenure in that role. I had her on the show.
Yep.
I had her on the show. But I guess it doesn't matter, because when you have this narrative, I guess you just kind of want to stick to it.
Well, it's crazy because people will believe a meme that they have no idea where the source is. That's fake news. People will believe Tulsi Gabbard, who was endorsed by David Duke of the KKK, before they believe a Black woman like me, or a Black woman like Nikki Solis, or a Black woman like Latifah Simon, who worked in the DA's office with Vice President Kamala Harris. We ain't shit. Our word ain't shit. But this anonymous ass meme that you ran across, that you saw spread, a lot of this shit started from white supremacists. I'm not going to name specific names. They ain't got time for that. But y'all believe them. But then when a Black woman comes to you and gives you the receipts, I can give you facts, figures, receipts. I still got the post up on my Medium, Black Women Views Medium. Then all of a sudden, I don't know. Like, just if you could just believe anything, then at least believe the motherfuckers telling you the truth. How about that?
Well, the other thing too, Reecie, is that for a lot of people, and I do understand this, they struggle with Black prosecutors. But I tell people that we need Black prosecutors. As somebody who does a series every single Wednesday called Exonerated, and they tell me how I never had a prosecutor who looked like me. And I'm not saying it's because you're a Black prosecutor, you're going to be perfect. There's the horrible story of Roger King in Philadelphia. He was terrible. But nonetheless, I think it's less than 2% of prosecutors are Black.
Right.
Do we not want any Black folks to be in those roles? Is that what we're saying? No, we want people in as prosecutors in every level of that justice system who hopefully have our best interests at heart. That's what we want. But I think there's some people who think, oh, if you're a Black prosecutor, why are you on that side? But it's important. Prosecutors aren't going anywhere. Prosecutors they're not leaving. So it's important to have people who are really progressive. The one and only Laura Coates, who I love, who's on POTUS, she was a prosecutor. It's important to have people in those roles. We don't want to give all the power to them. We don't.
But some people just like their white overseers. They have their white is right candidates that they support. When they could support a qualified Black person, they like their president's white, vice president's white, prosecutors white, judges white, and then they want to complain about why the system is fucked up. Ugh, make it make sense, Jill.